August 21st, the Board of Selectmen. And please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all. Okay. This meeting, aware that the meeting is being recorded for use in the internet and our local cable station. Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody here tonight. And tonight, I see we didn't get the storm that we were supposed to get. No, I guess it went somewhere else, and that's good. We don't need another storm. Okay, first thing on the agenda, Chris Iantelli, Friendship Pack presentation. Chris, you want to come forward here?
Yeah, that's fine. Just wanted to give you an update on Friendship Park.
Yeah, give a little notice on who you are, what you do.
Chris Iantelli, Director of DPW.
Okay.
As you know, we did get a warrant article and funding from CPA this past June for $320,000 for a new playground. We have been taking the designs, the preliminary designs that were put together before town meeting, and we're working with a Nancy White, who is a certified playground designer, and she is taking the ideas from the playground committee as well as our ideas and incorporating them together so that we can come up with a scope of work and a final design. And then we will either go out to bid or pick somebody that's on the state bid list, and everything will be approved and be qualified through the DPW. We'll be taking charge of the whole project. Okay. We're working also with the school department, the Howard School principal. He's been coming to meetings to help with his input. And we want to make it available, obviously, as we have in the past for the school kids during their recess. So it looks good. I think it will probably be built in the spring, because a huge amount of it is related to the surfacing, the handicap accessibility surfacing, and it's going to get very busy for these builders through the fall. And it has to be, it's weather related, so it will probably be April, May, or June before it actually is constructed.
So when you're doing the construction, is that going to have to be closed? Is there another location? Are they going to be able to go to for a play area, or how are you going to handle that?
I'm hoping to dismantle the old playground just before the new one goes in. Okay, so there won't be too much downtime. The way I see it. The footprint might change a little bit. It might be a little bit larger. We're going to need new fencing. The fencing that we put in there 25 years ago is pretty well gone. I want to see a higher grade fence, a little bit stronger fencing. We're going to have gates. We do need handicap accessibility to the school, on the school side, as well as the parking lot for the playground side. So we're working all those things out. This girl that we have contracted to work with is top-notch, I feel, and it's going to take out all the questions that basically there's been so many changes since we built this playground 25 years ago with ADA and federal guidelines that she is going to be, I think, really helpful to us to get the right equipment and to have it set up properly for safety reasons.
Are you still thinking about a community build?
That's still an option. I think it would be at this point because we're going to save some serious money. I think we'll be able to get the volunteers for that one-day community build that basically is the way we did Friendship Park, 25 years ago. The equipment arrived on Saturday morning and we cut the ribbon the next morning. It was all done in one day. So unless something comes up that they advise against it, I don't see why we wouldn't. Yes. Yep. And I've also asked the playground committee to consider, once the final design is put together, to put some corporate sponsors on different parts of it, for memorials or corporate sponsors, and see if we can do some more fundraising for that as well.
I was going to have a canopy over so I can use it on inclement weather there. The only thing I was thinking, if there's any volunteers out there that want to donate some money out there, I mean, we could certainly welcome
Sure.
something like that, because that would be an added feature.
Yep.
That's one thing. And the other thing is the Drury Bell, and of course, I've had a lot of the plaques for the veterans there. They were done over, but they didn't want to touch that bell there. Is there anything that we can do to make that bell look a little bit better? I know nobody wants to touch it because it's pretty well.
We were advised not to touch it.
Right.
Right, that it was best to leave it as was,
Okay.
as is, so, at this point, that's what we're doing.
Okay. Well, anyway, board have any questions of this big project? Because Chris is pretty busy doing his thing.
Nothing else.
Denise?
No questions.
No? Okay, David, you got anything? Or anybody? Okay. Contract award from the Mass Completion Streets. This is something that overwhelmed me this week there, and I want to hear from Chris on this one. This is very, very good news.
It is good news. We went after this after about 6 months of meeting with our Complete Street Committee. We put together a list of priorities for the town, and the first two priorities I put in for was sidewalk work and signals at Howard and West Center, and they gave us a partial award of $287,000, which with a small amount of money, hopefully added to that, will get us a new signal on West Center Street in Howard. So that will be a huge asset, I think, to the town.
Yeah, it was great. It was great news to hear something like that. And of course, you know, we already started working on that Matfield Street, but now we are going to have to take some kind of a vote as far as the priorities. I mean, we certainly don't want to be giving money and have the money just sitting there, because you know what happens there. It's not a good idea. So I don't know. We were going to go and try to do something this year up on Matfield Street, but now with this here, how does the board feel about now with the priorities? Do we go with the Howard Street now? Do we have the money?
Well, this is specific to Howard, so it has to be used there, right?
Yeah, right.
So,
Chris, who was on your committee that was providing feedback and recommendations?
We had about 9 people, I think. They were department heads as well as residents of town.
Well, I want to thank you. You did a terrific job, you know, and you know, we obtaining that. That's a good amount of money. We certainly been wanting to do this for a long time. As you notice, even the people that go down there to direct traffic there for the school there, they don't dare to stand on the intersection. They park their car back, and of course it's been really in need of a light for a long, long time. And especially where we want to build sidewalks and things like that. There's a lot of kids that are going to school there that would certainly could use a light there. Board, do you have anything to say about that? Or?
thank you, Chris, for your work.
Thank you for all
Other
your
questions?
efforts, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. And David?
No, I was just going to say, Chris really should be commended along with the committee, but we have been trying to get funding for our intersection improvements for years. And as we know with the East Street, East Center Street project, we had to self-fund the entire amount. So for Chris to come up with what should be somewhere around half of 50% of what the cost is, I think that was a pretty good job on Chris's part and the committee's part. And like you said, Mr. Chairman, there is no doubt that that is a heavily traveled intersection that we need to do something about.
It says we got Mr. Noyes there, our engineer out there. He'll be aboard, I hope. He certainly did a great job down in 106, down below Trookies, and finally completed that, and that's on the. I got a lot of compliments on that from a lot of people. You know, it seems to be working very, very well, and even the design of the intersection, even before the lights were working there, people said what a big improvement that has been. You know, thank you again, Chris. I mean, you know. Okay, board members, anything?
All good.
All good? Okay, Ben Smith, installation of the new cable equipment.
I apologize, my other camera guy is still downstairs with the assessor, so it's just going to have to be on that wide shot. Benjamin Smith, cable manager for the West Bridgewater Community Access Television Station. So I'd just like to give an update. Over the summer, part of our new contract renegotiation with Comcast, they installed a video return line, which is set up right in the back to feed back to our control room, our studio in the high school. This is something that should have actually been set up in the previous contract in 2009. Through some miscommunication, it just seemed like there was never any activation of that line. It's usually something called the INET, which stands for Institutional Network. And we didn't go off that because at this point that cable is very old. It's a coax cable. So this is a fiber line. Fiber is much more modern, more reliable. So it's over in July they installed a termination box, and as we know, it's just basically coming out and going to the power lines and then back to the TV studio. Overall, this is kind of the first step in the plan to try to get us to consolidate our situation back here and try to upgrade this room. We plan to upgrade the cameras to be more HD, so high def. They're still on standard def. And possibly looking to consolidate that area and be able to, in the end, take the video that's being fed from the town hall back to our control room where it can go up online faster, it can be recorded quicker, and overall we're looking to, in the end, be able to control the cameras from town hall so that we may be able to save some space in the back and provide some more chairs and so forth. But yeah, this is just kind of the first step that they took care of in July.
That's great. And the cost is by the cable company.
Yes, so yeah,
Cost is
the cable is for the most part doing most of the cost, and we are putting in about $15,000 from Westbrook Cable Access, but that was with the negotiation. Overall, the cost was somewhere around $23,000. So,
okay. Any other questions, David? You got anything?
I do not.
No, thank you, Ben.
Thank you, Ben.
thank you very much.
Thank you, Ben.
I'll go back to the controls.
Okay. Okay, the Hooker Lines, I understand they withdrew their request. Is that right, David?
That is correct.
Okay, so we don't have to act on that. It's been withdrawn. Okay. Next thing, I've got 7:35. Why am I? We have to wait for that 7:35 on that one?
No, we could do the
No,
7:15, which is the road safety audit.
Huh?
Road safety audits, 7:15 appointment.
Yeah, right. Request for use of Warren Memorial Park,
Pat.
River Street, and application for one-day liquor license, Sunday equipment license for West Bridgewater Lions Club. Oh, you want to do the audit there first?
Yeah, we'll do the road safety audit. please.
All right, okay. Let's do that first. Okay, David, on that?
Yep. So as you know, back in June, is that there was a meeting here at the town hall. The chairman was in attendance, along with Jim Noyes, who is our engineer, and on hire, and our DPW director, Chris Anatelli, along with some other staff, a member from OCPC, and members from Mass DOT. And so we were looking at the intersection of Route 28 and Matfield Street, because again, we know that's another high traffic situation that has to be addressed. Part of the challenge with that is that Route 28 is a state road, so it does not just fall into the purview of the town of West Bridgewater. So we'll have some limitations potentially as to what we can do, or we would have to seek some waivers. There are two very active, thriving businesses at that corner as well that will most likely be impacted. One is Nico's Bar and Grill, and the owner is in attendance tonight. The other one is Grand Slam, who could not be in attendance this evening. But we've asked both of them to be here. Peter is here tonight, and I think that they're here to be able to answer any questions and provide any type of feedback that you need in reference to their report.
All right, it was kind of a meeting there, which I was in attend, and members of course, of District 5 were there, and Jim Noyes, our engineer, and Paul from Little Conley Plant, and also Raymond Garino, who incidentally would be here tonight, but he's on vacation. And it was kind of a productive meeting. It started here in the town hall, and we talked about a lot of the things, other concerns up there. And also, we went to the location. We stayed there for a while, and there's so many things up there, and how to do it. It's going to be this is going to be a tough one. This is not going to be an easy one. I know the restaurant there that is bordering there. The gentleman is here. Has got problems because I don't know. I talked to Jim Noyes, and he was showing me on the fence, and somewhere along the line, we're going to have to close that intersection up and curbed. And now that parking out front is going to be lost there. I mean, so what are we going to do? So I looked across the street in the Grand Slam and over at that area there, and we watched the traffic as it comes from Main Street onto Matfield Street. I mean, those people are flying, and they're wide open there coming out of that parking lot for the Grand Slam. Okay, and so I don't know if the answer is to bring up the sidewalk and put a curb and then have a curb cut, and so the Grand Slam can come out in one area instead of coming out all over the parking lot. It's a big ticklish problem. It's something that's not going to be solved overnight here. It's going to take a lot of study and a lot of talking. I mean, we don't want to really hurt any business up there or anything else, but one of the problems is that we see the traffic that enters from Matfield Street doesn't stop at the stop sign. They have ways of just going through a 4 or 5, and then the traffic that's coming to Matfield is going north. Can't see, can't get out. So it's a very, very congested area that up in that area. I don't know if anybody's got anything they would like to put into this, or welcome, because we're only in the preliminaries. I know the Ray Garino and them, they would like to see it go and study this further and comprise some of these ideas that we have here. And I don't know, Paul, you got anything you want to say on the? I mean, we don't. There's nobody here from the Mass Highway today.
That is correct.
Okay, so
The invitation was extended, they were unable to attend.
okay.
So, I mean, this is definitely going to be a talk that the town has to have between Mass DOT and the town, since they are the owners of Route 28. As you can see from the report, there's a lot of traffic going north and south, and that impacts Matfield, which is having ever-increasing traffic. And some of the issues that the chairman was speaking about, for example, Matfield, individuals having to push their way out to turn left or right because there's just so much volume going north and south, really creates safety issues. Those who were there really saw it. Those who wish to avoid the intersection or not to be caught up in queuing or driving through the parking lots of the Grand Slam, basically traveling through the parking lot of Miko's, where there might be cars parked, during dinner time and stuff like that. So really creating unsafe conditions. We saw many drivers entering Matfield from what would be the, I guess it would be the westbound direction, so opposing traffic, they were entering there. So it's quite challenging. One thing you guys would need to do next is really meet with MassDOT and seeing what you guys can do, either putting it on a tip or doing something special. Of course, it's gonna help if the town puts up a little bit of money to try to get things going. But that conversation between you guys and the state, the next step has to happen. I mean, it didn't meet all requirements for a traffic signal, so I mean, that's something that you guys have there that you can speak to them about.
So when I looked at the road safety audit,
Yes, ma'am.
Paul, and so first time looking at something like this was a lot to take in.
Right, with that,
And when I was looking at it from an analytical standpoint, I did look at accidents as the criteria for how dangerous this intersection is. And I'm sure what you witnessed that day were a lot more close calls. And of
Yes.
course, those aren't counted because they're
Right.
not reported.
Right.
But I think what stood out to me, and maybe I'm wrong here, is that the heavily traveled time periods were morning to afternoon, and the majority of the accidents were actually occurring between 2 and 4 during the daytime. Typically not when these restaurants are
Right.
crowded with cars, correct?
That's what the data showed. I
Okay.
mean, there's a number of factors that, I mean, it's a relatively straight road, so as Elvin was saying, people are really moving north and south.
And that seemed to lead to what the problem is. Coming north and south is really the issue because there are no sufficient pauses in the traffic for the people coming out of Matfield to
That's
come out.
correct.
And that seemed to be the crux of the issue,
Right.
not necessarily the restaurants.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
It's not the restaurant's
Right.
fault. It's just the high volume of the road. I mean,
Okay.
Route 28's, it's an interurban road, so you're taking it to Brockton, south of West Bridgewater, and points north and south. So,
Okay.
I mean, it's if you really look at it, it's the complement to Route 24. So, of course, roads like that are always going to have a lot more traffic. And you're correct with your analysis is that there's hardly gaps during peak periods for traffic on Matfield to get out. So they naturally start to inch out because if you don't, you're never going to get out of there.
Right.
And then, with the high speeds, it's a recipe for accidents sometimes.
So what point are we at now, David, with this? Is it looking at all of the options we've been provided?
So I think as Paul suggested is that now that we have some preliminary information, our next step is to be able to be in touch with Mass DOT. Jim, have we already done the NFI on it?
No, we haven't. We filed one years ago, but they sent it back for more information, and that's where it is right now. I mean, we could go two routes. One is to get it onto the tip, and the other one is for the town to do, the funding of the design and the improvements themselves. So, I agree. We should go to the MassDOT and see where they stand on possibly funding the project. It's a state road, so they would fund both the, they could fund both the design and the improvements, or they could just fund the improvements with the town doing the design. That would help it to get it along, give it the push. Or they may say they have other priorities and they wouldn't think that this would get funding in the foreseeable future as a project. And
Well, I'd like to get it on the tip list and move this thing along,
What's the weight on the tip list?
It's a little lengthy, but sometimes things can get moved up. It just
I'm not
depends
gonna move
on
it
the
ahead.
dynamics of the situation. But I think the first step is to talk to MassDOT to see about what can be done. And in your document there are a list of short-term remedies you might be able to utilize to try to make the intersection a little more safe. For example, a flashing beacon in the intersection with a yellow for north-southbound traffic on 28 and a red for the Matfield drivers to try to just bring awareness and attention that they're approaching a dangerous intersection. Also, restriping of the lines in some cases because they're quite faded, fall lines, stuff like that.
What is the, excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt you, what is the speed limit north and south from Brockton and West Bridgewater through
Yeah,
there?
I think southbound it's like 40 miles an hour, and then coming northbound it's 35 up to just beyond. Up to the intersection, then beyond it becomes 40 if I recall correctly.
Is it possible to even slow it down more going through that intersection?
Oh, that was something you have to talk about.
yeah, probably not with speed zoning. That's another difficult thing where they actually establish speed limits not based on what you would like, but based on what people are actually driving. So.
Like, I think if we did it, we would find out that we'd have to increase the speed limit
Yeah,
to be at the
that's-
85%. So, Selectwoman Reese, I just want to make sure you have the right answer, is that we met collectively as a group with Mass DOT earlier in the year, and their recommendation is that we did conduct a road safety audit, which is exactly why OCPC was contracted to do this. And so that's why, armed with this information, we would go back to Mass DOT. The positive is if we get on the tip list, yes, it could be certainly a long-winded project. It could be moved up, although I'm not so sure we've had a lot of luck with it being moved up in West Bridgewater, but there's no doubt that that's always a possibility. The positive of being on the tip list is that the state manages the project, they pay for the project, and you get a nice project out of it. As we know from the East Street intersection, is that sometimes managing the contract comes with its own challenges. The negative to that is that we are going to lose control. Again, we have two really good, well-established, well-run businesses on that intersection that are going to be impacted. And with a local control, we would have more interaction to be able to potentially make some changes that would be beneficial to the town, to the residents, and to those owners. And not saying that Mass DOT would not be helpful or provide some flexibility, but they're going to be less flexible because they're not obviously they're not at the local level.
Right.
So those are the ideas that I think that we have to weigh.
So I'm just trying to understand.
But I got a hand up, and I'll let you hear from him.
Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Just throwing this out there, what if Matt Field was one way coming off 28? Is there any consideration been given to that? I know it would create a massive uproar, but has any consideration or study
No,
been given to that?
that hasn't been discussed, but that's, anything is up now. We're trying to get,
Right.
facts out here, see? One of the things that said, it costs so much for a light, and I was told, if you can redesign or do anything to the streets or anything else, because the lights, they cost so much money, And is Joseph Cannell out here? From National Grid? No? Okay. Well, he's one name that's been helping out as far as the lights go. You had a light out there that it's maximum wattage, but the bulb was inferior. That was just replaced. And I don't know if you noticed at the fork of the road, I've lit both sides of that road up. It took a while to do it, but it seems to be now. Now you go down near the cemetery there, and when I asked for that first, they ended up putting it on the North Elm Street side. But I said, leave that alone, I said. So I'm trying to, light these intersections up too, in anything that we can do to improve these intersections, and as I realize, it costs. As far as putting it on the tip, I'm one of the signatures that all the way down to Plymouth. So you're sure going to get one signature, I'll tell you like that, if we get this thing moving. I mean, I didn't want to be in conflict of interest, of course, but the example of that was Bridgewater, the police chief, High Street. He requested that light at High Street, and we had to move it up on the tip list. There was a fatality there, and then we watched the fatality rates and that kind of stuff too. And so as far as the tip list there, it can be worked there, but you should log on and get on to move the thing along. And I know, you must have some comments there. You are really going to be affected.
I'm just waiting my turn, sir. That's all.
No, go ahead.
Okay. First off, you made the comment to start right away, Mr. Marrero, is it's going to affect my parking lot. It's going to affect my parking in the front, and we can all attest that I probably have the worst parking situation in any restaurant in the South Shore.
Yeah, I know you do.
Everyone, when I went to the restaurant, the number one thing everyone said, you're crazy, how are you going to do that parking lot? I have been lucky to make that parking lot work. We need to make that parking situation better, not worse. So what I'm asking the gentleman, these two gentlemen here, how is it going to affect my parking situation if you've gotten that far yet?
That's something you have to talk to the state about.
Okay.
See what the plan is. I mean, that's something you guys have to decide here.
No, but that's one of the things we're thinking of. I mean, it's such and I don't even know, as far as on the Grand Slam, how much land do we own on the other side there too? Is a possibility that the whole thing can be moved over a little bit there? I don't know. That's what I got to find out. What all the options. I mean, I think, Jim, you pointed out the white fence there. As the line is coming along there, it was just kind of something to see. You were saying that.
Yeah, just guessing.
But I didn't. How does that affect as far as his parking with handicap and everything else? And I know one door he doesn't use. They come around to the other side there too. So there's people walking through there too all the time too. So we got to situation there that's not, it's got to be, studied and done right. We don't want to make a situation worse than it is either, That's the thing,
No, and to add to it, and something just to bring light into the situation as well, I've talked to a couple people in the community about it. I don't own the building. I lease the building. My lease is up on March 31st. My future, I would love the 5 years I spent in West Bridgewater, but this is really going to affect my future in West Bridgewater. That's one of the reasons I'm here. So some answers, because it's really going to affect my parking lot in a negative way. Do I want to continue to do business in a town where it's a negative way? I love it here. I don't want to go anywhere. I've built 5 years of my life here. I want to spend the next 15 years here. Also, having said that, I do have an option to buy the building. The gentleman who owns the building has offered it to me. It's by September 30th, he would like an answer as to whether I'm going to extend my lease or to buy the building. I will say this, a lot of this has to play into my decision going forward. My number one option, to tell you the truth, is to stay in West Bridgewater, to buy the building, and to make it better. But I am also here to actually bring something else into the situation. I need help from the town of West Bridgewater with parking. I mean, it's been 5 years, I'm surprised I haven't come sooner to ask for help for parking. But you guys have some land between the cemetery and the land that I own back there. The landlord owns some land that goes a little past the fence that we have over there, some trees that abut, and then there's some land between the cemetery and the restaurant. I would like to see if there's something that can be done to survey that area, where maybe the town sells us that land and we can make a parking lot out of that. Because I'll tell you one thing, if I can get some land that separates the cemetery and my restaurant, and maybe get 2 lanes of parking, you get 12 spots apiece, you're at 24 spots. I'll tell you right now, I will sign the contract to buy the building, fix the building up because it's starting to deteriorate rapidly because the landlord hasn't done any work to it, and fix the pavement of the thing, and they really make it pop and really invest in the town of West Bridgewater. I'm willing to invest in the town of West Bridgewater, but I also need some investment from the town of West Bridgewater as well. I'd like to, how it's gone so far, but I do need some help. I'm here to ask for some help, honestly, because I can't grow my business without any parking.
And that's what I was leading to with one of the questions I was asking Peter, that the tip list, again, I'm not familiar with it. So is that typically a 6-month, a 1 year time
It can
period?
span a few years.
A few years.
Yeah. I mean, that's why you guys really got to start the conversation with MassDOT.
Okay.
And seeing what can be done to see which way you guys should go. Because right now, we don't know. I mean, until that conversation starts to happen,
So if we start the conversation with Mass
you guys
DOT.
can make a decision of which way you guys should go. Maybe work with MassDOT, do a tip, or see if there's another avenue maybe you guys can work together. Or maybe there might be something you might be able to do on your own. I mean, it is a state jurisdiction road, so they own it. They're going to have to be part of the conversation. So that's why it's best to start the conversation now.
David, how long was East and East Center on the tip list before we decided to pay for it ourselves? Do you remember?
Years. And that's why we ended up doing it ourselves. And the estimate from Mass DOT to do it was $1 million, and we did it for less than $500,000. We had full control. We did it the way we wanted to do it. We got a nice sidewalk out of it. So that's the benefit to doing it on a local level, is that although it took 9 months and there was some frustration that it took 9 months, a Mass DOT project there would have probably lasted a year and had already been on the tip list for many years. So, and it's done. So,
Well, this is why the idea to enhance this thing, like Jim knows there, we've been picking up the design. So we kick in some of the money, so at our town meetings, we pick up the design money to move the thing, okay? But on this one here, what complicated this, I mean, I know Chris got that money and we was all like that, and I don't want that money sitting there, because they'll say if we don't do something with money that's given to us, we're not going to get any more. I mean, and so I don't know now. I don't know what the board is going to do. I talked to Dave today about it. He says, well, I think we should go with Howard Street, and then maybe the following year go with Matthew Street. But study Matthew Street and make sure that we know what we're doing there before we do anything. I mean, so it isn't something that's going to happen overnight. I mean, I know you would like to have an answer or something like that. You brought that other.
I just did something else.
Yeah, you brought that other thing up.
My long-term future.
That land over on the other side there, and
Well, that's something I just.
all that stuff.
I honestly just didn't know how to present it to the town. I figured this was a good
right.
forum to do it, where it's the thing. I know this is going to take some time, and even to look into. I don't even know if it's feasible or something that can be done. but it doesn't hurt to ask.
Who
And
should
you know
Peter be talking to about this land?
I'll have a conversation with him.
Okay.
But the issue is that as a government entity, we can't just sell land.
Yeah, well, leasing would be the best option by far.
Potentially.
Because it won't have to go to town meeting. We can do that right here. We can lease it for 5-10 years. So I think that's definitely the best option for the town, and we probably don't want to be selling off land anyway.
So, yep, so we'd have to just verify exactly what the process is, but it's something I could certainly have a conversation with Peter about, yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask one question, just only because you mentioned the leasing? If it's the leasing, is it something that the town would take care of to level the land, make it a parking lot where you lease it, or is it something where I would come out of pocket to?
That would be negotiated.
Okay. Because I'm open, just like I said, like I mentioned, I want to stay, I'm not looking to go anywhere. You know, I obviously have a future that I have to worry about, and I like to do what's in my best interest as well. You know, and I like being in West Bridgewater, I like serving the community. There's good people around here somewhere, I'd like to run my business in the 15, 20 years, hopefully. I'd like to make it work with you, and that's one of the reasons I'm here. Obviously, this affects me, but I also need some help from the town as well. If we can make something work, I'd be more than thrilled to make something work. So, Jay, if we could set something up, I would really appreciate it.
Yep, absolutely.
So we'll continue making it move. Yeah, go ahead.
Just a quick question from the floor for the audit board. Were the majority of accidents coming out of Matfield onto 28?
Oh, I thought they were on 28.
Yeah,
They
Not
were.
on 28, but
They
were
were-
they coming out of Matfield?
Matthew was a contributing factor, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
as cars try to encroach out, you know, obviously somebody wouldn't do something right.
So if cars weren't coming out,
Yeah, they were coming out of Matfield, so they were.
so if it was one way going in, the majority of your problem would just be solved.
You would need a bigger study on the traffic
Okay.
because there's so
I
few roads in
suggest that.
town. You want to know what's going on with that.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can't comment on what they.
Yeah, no, just what you found so far.
Well, you never know when they're going to pull up in front of you. I had a situation that I was lucky. Nobody was behind. Because I would have gone right through the building, I'll tell you right now. I had the space to go. Because you got nowhere to go. No, you got nowhere to go. I mean, when they shoot out there, I mean, you never know. They're impatient. And they just,
Well, the one thing I suggest to do in the interim, honestly, is that sign. That sign ends up by my front door every day. I am the one person that moves that sign, that stop sign that's in a little cinder block on the corner over there.
Yeah.
Anytime a half a gust of wind comes by, that's in my parking lot, it's in my handicap spot. If I'm not there every day walking through my parking lot and cleaning it up like I do,
Yeah, right.
then that stop sign's not there. No one sees the
Right.
stripes in the road, they just fly around the corner, just like you guys say. I'm all for the light. I agree 100% that the town needs it, especially where I had a manager. My manager ended up in Mr. DeCosta's parking lot. She got hit so hard coming into my parking lot. She flipped last August, 8 months. She was almost out of work 10 months, and it was 8 months of rehab.
Right.
Jennifer's lucky to be alive, so it's something that it impacted me directly. When I went outside to see under Mr. Costa, I saw her under her car at 10:30 on Saturday night. It's something, probably the most horrific scene I've had to deal with in 22 years of doing this. Nothing I ever want to see again. But one of the small things is just getting the appropriate stop sign. I can't believe that it's allowed that a cinder block is there. That, like I said, I move every day. And if I didn't move it every day, that thing would probably be in the cemetery somewhere, honestly.
yeah. And there's a lot of stop signs, if they haven't been approved,
Yeah,
that's
that's
just a
temporary.
they're
I mean,
really-
that's temporary.
how
solution,
can
like
you,
guys
you know,
are
how
doing.
can you enforce them? A lot of stop signs are not approved, you know? And people get tickets all the time on them if they never check. They're gonna be approved by the community, you know?
With the stop sign that's on the corner there?
Yeah,
I mean, that's been there since I've been there. I think I
I know
assume
that,
that's the
I know
town
that.
stop sign, correct?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, right.
I'm sure it's a legal stop sign. We'll make sure that it gets more secure.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just continue moving on it there and, you know, keep Peter
Yeah, definitely.
out and,
start reaching
you know, everybody here and this, and get back to him. And David, you're gonna be talking to him,
Absolutely.
okay? Anything else from the board or anybody else wanna make any kind of comments there? None, okay. So, thank you very much. And Paul, thank you for coming down.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman, while Mr. Noyes is here and Mr. Inatelli are here, if we could also now go down to the award 9/11 Memorial Contract, which is 1E, and then 1F for engineering services for Fish Passage. Actually, I'm sorry, you're not the engineer on those, but in any event, but Chris is here, just in case you had any questions, but I would be asking you under 1E to award the 9/11 Memorial Park contract to MDM, and I'll be asking you under 1F to award the engineering contract to Fuss and O'Neill.
Jim is the 9/11.
MDM is the contractor, I'm so sorry, yes.
Okay. So any questions on that?
Nope.
Do we have a motion to that effect?
Motion to approve the contracts as stated.
Okay.
Second.
Is there a second? Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Chris is still here. We're going to be talking about East Street there.
Yep, and again, Mr. Noyes was the engineer on that one as well, so the East Street, East Center Street project is now complete. I provided an update to the board at our last meeting, which is good news. At that time, we did not have all of the financials closed. At this point, we do. The initial contract, as you can see, was for $466,371. We had actually budgeted and received at town meeting an approval of $513,000 because that's what we expected it to cost. There was only one overrun for legitimate reasons, which was for $10,106.68. That is going to be change order number 1, which I will ask you to approve in 1 minute. So the total adjusted contract price becomes $476,477. Again, that is a solid $40,000 below what we had budgeted and received approval at town meeting. So I think that our engineer, Mr. Noyes, and Mr. Iantelli did a really nice job of managing the contract, making sure that it stayed well under budget, and to be able to deliver a really good project.
Okay.
So with that said, I would ask the selectmen to approve change order number 1 in the amount of $10,106.68.
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
second? Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
So voted. Okay, what else we have with Chris here? The way this agenda was put up there, you know, that was stagnant. We didn't think we were going to
Right.
have to do it this way, but
I think you're good, Jim.
it turned out there. And then to get on to the town administrator. We have one other thing that
Yep, so under 4I, transfer station gate moved.
in.
Mr. Iantelli came to me a period of time ago. He thought that it was wise for us to move the gate about 40 to 50 feet off the road. So you can see that he placed a new gate in. Chris, if you're here, I mean, I know the reasons why, but if you want to explain why we
Sure.
did that.
When we were going for the zoning for the new LED sign, the zoning board heard from some residents that live across the street, and one of the concerns was in the morning when the transfer station is not open yet, people pile up on the lawns across the street. So it was suggested that we move the gate 50 feet down, which would allow 3 or 4 cars to pull in there, and we did that. We also moved the LED sign a little further down the street, and then we also repaired and bermed the front lawn across the street so that the gentleman who lives there now has a nice front lawn. People are staying off of it. Problem's been solved.
We were one busy guy.
Yep.
Any questions about that? Okay. Okay, so that's it with
That's it.
Chris. Thank you, Chris.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Welcome, guys.
Okay, moving back, request from War Memorial Park, River Street application for one-day liquor license, Sunday entertainment license, West Bridgewater Lions Club, Park Day, September 8th, 2019.
So, Mr. Chairman, we do this every single year, so I would be asking you to approve the one-day liquor license, subject to all paperwork coming in, for September 8th, acknowledging the fact that there would be a rain date of September 15th if needed.
And we usually don't collect the fees, right? We
Correct. For all charitable organizations, we waive the fees.
waive the fees.
Motion to approve with waived fee.
Second.
Is there a second? Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, warrants and Board of Selectmen business, status of acceptance, Pearl Road. Okay, as you know, that the thing didn't go through properly with the planning board, and now it's back with our attorney. We have not heard from our attorney on this, and so I'm planning to put it on the next month's agenda to discuss it, and probably have our attorney here.
That is correct. I've asked him to be here. I want him to address the board directly. He can't be here tonight, so he is now scheduled for 7 PM on September 4th.
Okay, any questions on that?
Nope.
It's informational. Award contract for Howard School roof.
A question from the floor, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah,
Will he also be addressing, within, say, the last 10 years, other private ways that have been attempted to turn into public roads? Because I know Bresciani, Woodlawn, those went through. In fact, there was one last year
yeah, right.
that was voted on.
Yeah,
Did
there's
that-
other-
did that go through the process? So,
There's other situations out there
Yeah.
that probably should be corrected.
yeah, will he be addressing those as well?
I will ask him to do so.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is anything else on Pearl Road?
No, thank you.
Okay. You have anything? No?
Me?
No, not you. In fact, wait, the next guy there. Nothing? Okay, all right. Award contract with Howard School roof repair.
So, as you know, we went to town meeting this past spring, and town meeting approved $413,000 based on what our estimates were on the new roof. We went out to bid. There was 5 bids, and the lowest bid came in at $248,000, so well below estimates, which is obviously excellent. And so I will be asking you or the board to award the contract to MDM Engineering. They would be performing the work, and again, their bid came in at $248,000. So we've given them a notice to proceed because they, as Chief Procurement Officer, I have that ability to do so as long as they meet all applicable laws, which they did. We have done all their reference checks. Their references come in good as well. So at this point, I would ask the board to award the contract as presented.
We have a motion for $248,000.
Make a motion to approve the contract for $248,000 for the Howard
Is
School
there a
roof.
second?
Second.
Any discussion? Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
So ordered. Award the town hall cleaning contract.
So we've been using the same cleaning company for a couple of years. They do a decent job. Quite frankly, they're pretty inexpensive, and I normally go out to bid every single year, and I don't have to do a formal IFB or RFP based on the pricing. So I try to solicit other bids. Because it's a public entity, most people ask through a public records request what our current contract is, and as soon as they do, they look at the pricing, they don't bid. You know, the town hall, they're here 5 days a week, 4 weeks a month, and their cost is $936 a month. It comes out to $40 a day, and they're here about 3 hours a night. They do a pretty decent job. So what I said to them was, I said that they need to keep the price the same. They told me that based on the new minimum wage laws, is that they had to increase $40 per month. I looked at the math, it made sense. So recognizing that they gave me the insurance and everything else that they're required to do, at this point, I'm asking you to award the contract to ComClean as presented.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so ordered. Award third-party claims insurance contract.
So this insurance company, what they do is they assist the town in saving money. A couple of months ago, I came to you and asked you to award a contract to Cooking Company. Cooking Company since then has decided to exit this field. They saved us last year about $40,000, and what they do is that whenever one of our employees, chiefly police and fire, but whenever there is any type of a claim through a hospital or a similar organization, is that they take a look at the numbers and they verify that the hospitals are not overcharging us. So last year they saved us about $40,000. Their fee was $2,300 for an annual fee. So obviously the math is very much in our favor. Unfortunately, Cooking Company decided to exit the field. A lot of municipalities used them. We all scrambled. We got multiple quotes through our insurance company. This one here actually turns out to be a person that used to work for Cooking Company and knows our account very well. He gave us a quote of $2,500. Some of the other quotes came in at $10,000 to $15,000, being the most responsible and responsive quote. As Chief Procurement Officer, I determined that this one here would be the best one in best interest of the town. And so as a result, I would ask you to award the contract as submitted.
Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion or anything on it? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, the two other ones have been acted on, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Resignation of the Finance Committee Secretary, Christine Lee.
So 1G and 1H are actually in tandem. Unfortunately, Kristen Leahy, who has been with us for about 3 years, has done a very nice job. She lives in town. She's unable to continue as secretary for the Finance Committee, so as the Personnel Board, I am just asking you to formally accept the resignation. In her place, we had long a past practice of the secretary in the Board of Selectmen's office, since they do a lot of the work for the Finance Committee anyway, to also do the minutes. I asked Lorna if she would be interested in doing that. She said yes. The Finance Committee also took it up, took a vote, and they approved bringing Lorna on board. So effective next year, she would become the secretary. And again, as Personnel Board, I'm just asking you to ratify that decision.
Is there a motion to ratify?
Motion to ratify.
Okay.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. How about accepting accepted the Christine, who's resigning, and send a letter of thanks?
Right.
Okay. All in that same motion?
Yes.
Okay. Ratify new Finance Committee Secretary appointment. Okay, we did that. Moving along, approve minutes of June 19th, 2019.
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Accept minutes of July 10th, 2019 for review.
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, vote on vacation care request Gloria Hopkins, Assistant Veterans Agent.
So she is, Gloria is our secretary for the Veterans Agent. Per the collective bargaining agreement, she is able to carry over up to 5 vacation days from one year to the next. She is requesting to carry over 2 days. I signed off as it is applicable per the contract, but it is subject to a Board of Selectmen vote, and I'm asking for your approval.
Any questions?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so voted. Communication, reports of boards, commissions, and town officials. 61A notice and Conduit 134 Lincoln Street.
So this is 61A land up on Lincoln Street. We may know Mr. Russo, who used to run and manage a florist shop there. He has decided to exit that business, and he is in the process of converting that land into land that he is going to place residential units on. A typical 61A that we receive is a notice to purchase. There'll be a purchase and sale agreement, and the town has the first right of refusal. In this case here, he is not actually selling it. He is going to remain the landlord, at least in the short term, and he's going to place residential dwellings on there, and I presume sell them off as part of a subdivision. Therefore, he has to provide us a notice to convert. By applicable law, he has to contact the Board of Selectmen, but in addition, the Conservation Commission, Planning Board, and the Board of Assessors. They have all sent in their notice of that there is no interest on their behalf for the town to purchase. This here, it requires a little bit of a different process where it came in May. I would have had to actually get an appraisal within 30 days and receive an affirmative vote from the Board of Selectmen to purchase and have the money in hand. There's no way in 30 days a town can do that. It just couldn't have happened. I had already polled all of you. I had already had conversations with the other boards. Nobody had any interest in it. And now, being some of those boards met part-time, we have finally received in all of their letters. So I would ask the board to allow me to provide notice that the town is not interested in purchasing the property.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so ordered. Okay, Cable Advisory Board resignation, Stephanie Churchill.
Motion to accept the resignation with a letter of thanks.
Second.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Cable Advisory Board letter of interest, Adam Carrillo.
Yep, so what I would ask the board to do is that this just came to our attention, has been our past practice to make sure that it's fair to all residents, is that now that we know that there is an available open seat on the Cable Advisory Board, is that we would ask Mr. Carrero to come in at our next meeting and to be able to express his interest directly to the board, but this also serves as public notice to anyone else in the town who might be interested, and therefore they can come to our next meeting on September 4th and speak to the board, and the board can make the appointment at that point.
Okay, so, all right. Yeah, that's been a past practices, so we'll continue that practice. Correspondence from the public to determine the course of action. All right, public comments. Anybody got any comments out there that would like to say something? Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to follow up, John, if we take the time, I just wanted to follow up quickly in regards to private ways to public streets. If it is determined that certain streets were not properly converted, will there be an audit conducted on how much town money has been spent on what are essentially private ways, which is a violation of Massachusetts statute?
So obviously the board can make that decision. Not all money spent on prior roads is a violation. For example, we accepted a Mass General Law in 1988 that allowed us to be able to plow private roads. So
Yes, that's a specific statute, yes.
correct. So not all money spent on those roads would have been in violation. But again, we'll have to take a look at it.
Yeah, I think we're getting a little ahead. We need to
That's
first
the
make
whole
sure
area
that
that was after
it
explored.
wasn't done
I just wanted
properly.
to
Yeah,
put
yeah,
that
right,
on.
we'll look into
Perhaps
it.
the attorney for the next meeting could also
Right.
address that as well.
Right. Yeah, I plan to have him here if we don't, any of those kind of questions, he can probably answer for us, you know? Okay.
Well, he did a good job advising for the town meeting, so I don't know if.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your input, but those things should have been done, and they weren't being done, you know? And I know the planning board has been doing that a long time. I don't want to put the blame on the thing, but things just weren't getting done, you know?
Where were you 5 years ago, John?
Can I say?
Okay, East Center, that's always been taken care of. Increase in solid waste contract?
Yeah, so we went out to bid, and we spent some extensive time going out to bid 5 years ago. We signed a 10-year agreement with New Bedford Waste. You'll see that trucks, a lot of times it'll say ABC on them. We all know, we've seen the 60 Minutes expose on recycling. We've seen DEP and EPA change the way we're able to dispose of solid waste. And as this letter alludes to, is that due to those new changes, there's been a whole bunch of reduced capacity in the state of Massachusetts, which obviously is going to drive up cost. We had negotiated a pretty favorable agreement dated in 2015 that right now our solid waste per ton disposal rate was $60 per ton, escalating at 2.5% year over year. They are looking to invoke a clause saying that it is no longer profitable for them to do business at that rate, and therefore that they're looking to propose the new rate be $75 per ton. I've had legal counsel review this, and in the meantime, I've also had conversations with other municipalities. Quite frankly, to my knowledge, there are 2 other municipalities that have the exact same contract with New Bedford Waste that we do. One is Pembroke, the other one is Duxbury. Both of them are at the same current rate, and both of them received the same letter. For the other municipalities that are out there that I've received the surveys back from, every other municipality is in excess of $75 per ton. And I can tell you that even back in 2014 when I was out to bid, is that some of the responses at that point were above $75 per ton. So although I don't like it, the fact of the matter is that they apparently have a legitimate reason for increasing the tonnage. According to the contract, the town can walk away from the contract if we so choose. We don't have to, we're not locked in by, they're giving us more than 30 days notice, which is what their requirement is to have it take effect October 1st. But if we were to reject this offer, we then have to go with someone else, and based on what I'm finding, is that everyone else minus one town is already in excess of $75, so it's just kind of academic at this point.
What was the other town, David, that has the same contract as us?
Pembroke and Duxbury. So they've received the same letter. And because they've already done their research as well, they have both informed me that they'll continue to move forward using New Bedford waste. I think that that's really going to be in the town's best interest as well. And we don't have a lot of time, because for me to really go out and really do a whole bidding process in the next 30 days would be almost impossible anyway.
Can we hold this up to Dave? I talked to Dave today about the situation. I know we looked into hauling our own, and of course, I didn't know any community. But right in front of my shop there this week, there's a brand-new truck out there, and it says the town of Sandwich, Public Works on the thing. And then I saw a nice new dumpster. I'd like to check with them and see exactly, by owning their own rig, what the deal is on it. I'm not saying, because I know we're in a 10-year contract, but also they broke the contract when they're charging us now 75 or something, 60. Can we put it on the next agenda, or is that too late?
We could certainly do that. What I did was I did the math. I spoke to you about this, and then obviously spoke to each member as well. So in fiscal year 19 that ended in June, we spent about $100,000 with New Bedford waste and solid waste only. Going from $60 to $75 is about a 25% increase. Again, this is variable because we never know exactly how much waste is going to be produced. But using that math, that means that we would probably have about a 25% increase, $125,000. So for an entire year, it's costing us, in theory, about $125,000 to dispose of our solid waste. So if I then compare that, if I want to bring it in-house, one is I have to buy a truck. It's got to be a lot of money. Two, I'm going to have to hire someone. You know, the minimum...
Well, that probably one person would be... I never got a chance to talk to the guy, but you know, the truck was on it, says Town of Sandwich,
Right.
on it, you know, and I said, geez, look kind of interesting. And I see a nice new dumpster, so it gave me kind of wonder, because I know we did look into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we never looked that further.
Well, we looked at it back in 2014 because that was one of your requests at the time.
Right.
And we determined at that point that it just would have cost more money. So I look at it now and I say, okay, at $125,000 is a fair and reasonable estimate. Can I hire someone, pay benefits, buy a truck, gas and insurance, all the liability that comes with it, and at $125,000, do I come out as a winner or a loser?
All right. Well, the only thing is, like I said, I don't want to really hold the thing up, but if there's another way, a way that we can, something better. I realize it would have to be a dedicated person, or probably just driving the truck, and we'd have to buy a new truck.
Do we also have an increased penalty cost with them, David, for recyclables? We were talking about that, the fact that there were complaints that non-recyclables were mixed in with recyclables, and that going forward there would be an increased charge or penalty. I don't remember the exact details, but we had a discussion about that.
Yep. So at that time, what they did was they were finding hazardous materials and some materials that didn't belong in our recycling. And so they put us on notice that going forward, if it continued, that they had the right to be able to fine us. Fortunately, since then, we have not been fined. We have not either exceeded the threshold, or they haven't found it, or people have done a better job of not putting the materials in the recycling, and probably a combination of all three. But at least at this point, we have not received a fine.
So what is your pleasure? You want to hold it up, or you just vote it and continue looking into it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, as David said, I don't think it makes sense to purchase a truck, so.
Well, vote it in and
How long is this contract for?
Yep, so it's a 10-year
10-year
contract.
contract.
So 1/1/15, it must be expiring probably 12/30/2014 is my guess.
When they vary a
2024.
contract or something like that, does that mean we're still under the 10-year obligation? Or?
I'm sorry, say it again?
When they come up and increase the contract like that, you know, from 60 to 75, now they change the contract, okay? So what is our option on something like that? Is that something that we could get out of?
Yes, we can walk away before October 1st, but then I have to find somebody else and presumably find somebody else for cheaper than $75.
So the only option is to rebid. We know we're not going to buy a truck, so we could rebid or we could accept this.
Correct.
So just to understand too, they're going under Section 13 that it was uncontrollable circumstances.
That is correct.
That's perpetuating this increase.
All right.
And the explanation for that is what's going on with recyclables over in China and all of that. what if that situation is somehow resolved and improved and the flow of this is back to where it was 2 years ago?
So
Do
what-
they reduce the price?
So I think that that would be something we would have to bring to their attention. They're using here is the pretense to invoking Section 13, is that the Commonwealth of Massachusetts has reduced capacity by 1.5 million tons per year based on new regulations. So I think that if we were to see the state of Massachusetts relax some of those regulations and something else came on site available in Massachusetts where that 1.5 million, say for example, became 750,000, I think we'd have a legitimate right to go back to them and say, now you have to reduce the rate back to what it would have been.
So is this something that we build into the contract? Is this language that should be included versus just presuming it would happen?
The contract's already written. I can't change the contract at this point. They're invoking a Section 13 for legitimate purposes. If those become illegitimate purposes, we would provide a letter to them saying that it's illegitimate, then we would get into a debate, and then potentially either, like for example, right now, we have the ability to walk away.
Okay, so I guess I really don't need an answer because I was confused, David. I thought you were saying this is a new 10-year contract.
No.
You're saying this is an addendum to the existing contract.
That is
How
correct.
many more years do we have in this contract?
About 6.
Does the price still escalate every year?
No, right now, it's going to be at $75. So that's something I'm going to have to discuss with them. They do not provide us any further information. And again, I have until October 1st. We just received this in. So I have a little bit more work to do with it. My number one concern between receiving this in and having this board meeting is what is the current market price for solid waste? Because if I found that everybody else is paying $60 a ton, my recommendation to you is, let's get out of the contract. But my research has indicated to me that everybody else is at that rate or higher. So my first rationale reason is we have to stay in the contract. Now, I think to your point, we have to make sure we have to further define what their thinking is going forward.
Are you looking for a motion? Do you need us?
You don't need a motion. The only motion that I would need, because we're all locked in the contract, is if you want me to terminate the contract and look for some other bidder, then I would need a motion to that.
Okay, I'm good.
No, so,
I think just
okay,
keep
so
going.
moving on. And anything else? Okay, thank you. for
Thank
looking
you.
into that,
You're
know.
welcome.
Use of the town hall vehicle?
Yep, so I just want to inform the board took action last year. We want to make sure that all of our inspectors, and myself included, that if we were to do town business, that we no longer did in our personal vehicles. We repurposed a used coming out of fleet police vehicle. Southeast Regional did a really nice job. They painted the entire car for us as part of their auto detailing shop, and they only charged us about $800, where all of the auto body shops in the local area were quoting us between $4,200 and $5,000. So we have a pretty decent car for the purposes that we need. I've driven a couple of times. The selectmen had already voted on a town hall use vehicle policy, and so we have provided an extension to that in the office. It's about how somebody accesses the keys, make sure it puts gas in, and we provide them a copy of that policy whenever they sign it out. So again, just an FYI to the board that is now up and running.
Okay. Yeah, they did a great job. Maybe a letter of thanks to them. Entertain a motion to send that
So moved.
to the
Second.
Association of Regionals because they did a real good job there. Bridgewater construction on Elm Street, as you know, it's the Bridgewater Industrial Park is being built, by the day. Lucini's down there now, and now that big Plymouth outfit out of Brockton now, I understand, is moving down there. Not Snow and Jones, the other one is over there. Webb, they're moving down there. So that's going to be quite a. The only thing is that's going to really impact us because our street's pretty narrow down there. And, boy, the people down there that live on that street are going to be really impacted.
Yes, that's why I placed it on the agenda, because our Scotland Street turns into their Elm Street. And speaking to the town manager there, that town, their money, not a state money, not a state project, they're spending $6 million of taxpayer Bridgewater money to rebuild that road from the end of West Bridgewater all the way out to Route 104. It looks like it'll take about a year, so it's going to impact all those residents there for an entire year. Again, that's assuming that it all stays on schedule. In addition to that, as you go down from leaving West Bridgewater on the left-hand side, you'll see that they've already cleared out a large tract of land, and there is a 300,000 square foot warehouse building that is being proposed and has already been permitted through the town of Bridgewater. So that's going to add industrial traffic in that area. So again, I'm just bringing it to the board's attention and to the public's attention. There's going to be a lot of construction on that road, and there's no doubt there'll be some impact to the town of West Bridgewater.
How about that bridge that we own there? Is that going to be able to take that pound in there? I mean, I know there's a consideration too. I mean, if we have to do something there. I know it was repaired once. You know? Yeah, go ahead.
Before, Mr. Chairman. Cocheston Estates, I mean, that's right down there and increasing traffic. If it goes through, what's the status of those 94 or 84? The 84
Yeah.
houses that they were smacking into that space.
Yep, so our Board of Health was down there today. They were looking at some perk tests with the DEP. DEP is still trying to determine exactly what the current flows will be as part of the perks. Currently, Cochise Estates is proposing its own sewer wastewater treatment plant, and so they're weighing their options. And so it's 89 units at this point. And so it did. No, you're absolutely right. It started with 120.
Yeah,
You're
right.
absolutely. And due chiefly to sewer concerns, he had to keep dropping it because of the flows that he could get. So at this point, they're still in back and forth with DEP and our Board of Health as to what the flows will be to support the project.
Did they get, I know I'm sidetracking here, but did they get the conservation land because of the Blandings turtle?
Yep, so I asked that question to our Conservation Commission agent a couple of weeks ago, and to his knowledge, there has still been nothing back from MDR in reference to where we stand with the Blanding turtle.
Okay. Anything else on Elm Street? Okay, moving on to Department of Health, EEE announcement.
Yeah, so again, I just wanted to provide this as an update to the board, but also to the general public. The last 2 weeks, I've been on 2 conference calls with DEP, DPH, and MDOW, which is Massachusetts Department of Agricultural Resources. Many people are aware now that there is a serious concern of EEE, which is contracted through mosquito bites. The town of West Bridgewater had spraying conducted about 10 days ago, and they are slated to have spraying between tonight and Saturday. They have now changed, meaning DPH has now changed the way that they provide the information on spraying. It used to be they would contact us the day of, and we would know that night. It turns out that due to weather conditions and some other factors, is that has not been the most efficient use of their time. So DPH now notifies us the day after that it's been sprayed, that we have been sprayed, but they don't do it actively anymore. We have to go to their website, and we have to go and find out that's what happened. In any event, my real mission tonight is to let people know that the town of West Bridgewater has been determined to be at high risk. High risk is because as part of the Plymouth Mosquito Control Board is that we collect mosquitoes, and on August 2nd, which was a previous sheet, on August 2nd, one of our samples tested positive for EEE. That doesn't mean the entire sample of mosquitoes, which is literally thousands and thousands, but at least one mosquito tested positive in West Bridgewater, and therefore we've been placed on high alert. Some of our neighboring towns, such as Easton, for example, has been placed on critical because there have been more samples collected that have EEE, and currently Norton has had one animal actually pass away as a result of contracting EEE, so they've been placed on critical. In the town of Rochester has had an adult male test positive for EEE. And so this is really just an FYI to everybody that we have to take precautions. I know it seems simple and silly because it's mosquitoes, but the reality is there is no cure for EEE, and in many cases it turns out to be fatal, as it was for the animal in Norton. So it sounds silly, but reality is that we have to be careful with it. And again, it's just an FYI to the board and to the town.
So spraying tonight through Saturday?
The spraying tonight through Saturday is currently planned for the entire region, West Bridgewater being one of those.
Can we get something out on the town's Facebook page?
We have placed that out.
It's out there? Okay. Thank you.
Okay, well, that's been taken care of.
The next on the agenda is really just an FYI again to the board that it is our 10th annual Appreciation Day Cookout. It is amazing that it's been 10 years. The board started in 2009 and it does a nice job just for all the employees and also the people on committees and boards that volunteer their time. It is currently slated for Friday, September 20th at 12 noon at the Council on Aging. Next on the agenda is in reference to the access road behind Shaw's Plaza. Here's a picture of it. We all know there's been an ongoing trouble spot. The town of West Bridgewater we've been in touch through the Board of Health on multiple occasions with the owner. To his credit, at one time, because it's a new owner now, he's owned it for about a year. To his credit, he went out there early in the year, did a really nice job of cleaning it, cleaned behind the building, put a fence up behind the building, and shortly thereafter, unfortunately, people started dumping debris there again. It's frustrating because there's no doubt that it's the owner's responsibility to take care of it, but the reality is that there are some people out there that, for whatever reason, think that it's justifiable and okay to go to private property and just dump their personal belongings. They're the real culprits. In any event, he has an obligation, the owner does, to make sure that the road is clean. It is a private road, not a public road, and that is why it is not the town of West Bridgewater's responsibility. The Board of Health has been in contact with the owner on multiple occasions and have informed him in writing that he is required to clean it up because they're going to call it a public health nuisance. Today, our building inspector sent out an email saying that DEP has an illegal dumping task force. Quite frankly, I've never heard of this. I had a conversation with the health agent afterwards. He's never heard of it as well. I Googled it. I couldn't find a lot of information on their website. I found some 10-year-old articles on the newspaper about it, but I couldn't find anything on the DEP's website. So I sent DEP an email today asking how we would go about to make sure that they could potentially get involved. My understanding is, according to Mr. White, we would not be able to contract them ourselves because, again, it's private property. But I'd like to be able to have the information directly so we know exactly what resources potentially are available to the owner.
So hopefully what Mike is suggesting is current assistance they have, but in the meantime, this has been going on months now, and the dumping has become worse. I drove down there and it's just, there's couches, there's contractor debris, boxes,
So I gave
Garbage
fence now,
bags.
the fence is right on the street.
garbage bags that you don't know what's in there. There's clearly animals out there as well. So is there a timeline? And again, I agree with you, David, this is not the owner's fault. But again, we don't know what's being dumped down there, and clearly some of it is construction material, so it begs you to ask the question of what's in the bags. That they chose to put into bags and leave there. I don't know how close that is to any potential streams or water sources or anything. So what's the plan now?
So the Board of Selectmen does not have any direct authorization and jurisdiction on the matter. It's all through the Board of Health, which we don't oversee. Again, because it's private property, they have to declare it a public health nuisance. My understanding is that they're in the process of doing that, and then whatever that timeline is whatever the Board of Health would determine at that point.
Okay, so if residents have concerns, they need to call the Board of Health?
That's correct.
That's the agency they should be calling.
That is correct.
Why would the property owner keep the road open? If it's a private road, the town has no right to it anyway. Why doesn't he just block it off? Problem solved.
I can definitively tell you that has been presented to the owner on multiple occasions. For whatever reason, the owner has always said that he did not want to do that. I don't know why, but I can tell you that because this is obviously costing him a lot of money and aggravation, I can't believe that doesn't eventually become the solution.
Paul, one of the discussions I did have is that that is a convenient access for an emergency situation to get from West Bridgewater onto that section of Main Street. And in an emergency, seconds could save someone's life. However, it is private property. Even if we're using it for safety purposes, it's a granted privilege, I guess, would be the proper wording or not. So there's some good side to blocking it off. There's also some negative side to it. It's unfortunate that the people who choose to dump their garbage there can't just stop and maybe gate the area versus Jersey barriers. So if there was an emergency situation, our safety personnel could get through. But that's all up to the owner. It's his property.
Next on the agenda is just an FYI again to the board. It has come to our attention that there has been some sludge that has been dropped onto a person's private property on East Center Street. Based on what we believe is going on or went on, is that it would be in violation of the town's stormwater bylaw and potentially impacting wetland areas. In this case here, is that under the Board of Selectmen sits our Conservation Commission, where we do have direct jurisdiction, and as a result, Mr. Delano, our conservation agent, has been up to the scene. He has now sent out 2 letters, an initial letter to Mr. Wood, who is the owner of the property. Mr. Wood has come in and conversed with Mr. Delano, and the next step is that Mr. Delano has sent out a subsequent letter informing Mr. Wood that he needs to comply with the following requests. The reality is that if he dumps sludge on the property that is coming from a permitted facility, which it is, and he meets all of those requirements, he is legal. It is his responsibility to prove to us that he meets all of those requirements, and therefore that's why we've sent that out, and we're asking him to inform us that he does comply. Assuming that he complies, then there's nothing that's going to be done. Assuming that he does not comply or he chooses to ignore the letter, then we will have to do some type of enforcement going forward.
How big a piece of property is this?
I don't know. It's larger than you think. Yeah.
So is it something that could be subdivided? And doesn't currently perk now?
I don't know.
Because it's cheap to use to get something to perk. If you dump enough sludge, rotate it, and roll it in, build it up over time, and then you can turn on perkable piece of property. That's what happened on Cochise.
I mean, off the top of my head, I don't know the size of the property. I have no knowledge of what his long-term plans are with the facility. But even though it's a sizable piece of property, it does not have a lot of street frontage. So it may be limited as to what it can do for subdivision, but I don't know.
Subdivision bylaw.
Yep, exactly.
Do we know the quantity of sludge that was brought in there?
It's important. We would have to access it, and we don't have legal ability to be able to access it yet. If he doesn't comply with this letter, we will have the ability to do an enforcement letter and then be able to access the property through an administrative order. Next under my report is just 2 FYIs to the board, letting them know that the boosters are doing their annual car wash. They're going to be using the town hall parking lot in September. And also Rodman Ride for Kids. It's their 29th bike ride. They use a portion of the town of West Bridgewater to raise funds for their applicable cause. And per the Board of Selectmen policy, I've signed off on both requests.
Is there a motion to that effect? J and K?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, David. There's a
Thank you.
short agenda here tonight there, but I guess we get through it all right. You spent a lot of time on this agenda,
We did.
and Lana, who was always there for us. And good luck on your approaching marriage, Alana.
Thank you.
It's taking place, what, next week?
In 2 weeks, September 7th.
Okay, good luck.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Good luck.
Congratulations, and good luck.
Thank you.
Anything else to bring up before the meeting?
Motion to adjourn?
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank
Aye.
you. Thanks for everybody coming.